Good evening, everyone. I'm going to call the meeting to order, the council meeting of the town of Bay-Westfield at 7 o'clock p.m. today, and I think it is June 22nd. We respectfully acknowledge that Bay-Westfield exists on the traditional Wolastoqey land. The lands of the Wabanaki people are recognized in a series of peace and friendship treaties to establish an ongoing relationship of peace, friendship, and mutual respect between equal nations. The river that runs by our town is known as Wolastoq, along which live Wolastoqey, the people of the beautiful and bountiful river. We, the staff and elected representatives, pay respect to the elders, past and present, and descendants of this land. So as I mentioned, good evening, everyone. I'm Deputy Mayor Toole. The mayor can't be here this evening. She does send her regrets. So I'll go on to the record of attendance, and other than the mayor who can't be here, we have all councillors in attendance, so thank you very much. And I'll move on to item 5 on the agenda, which is the approval of the agenda. So the motion is that the council of the town of Bay-Westfield approve the agenda for the meeting of June 22nd, 2026. Councillor Burns, second, Councillor Linder. Any comments on that?
Is this my full stuff from the consent agenda?
Sure.
Can I pull 13?
13F. All right, so the motion is just amended so the agenda can be amended to move items 13F and 13M from the consent agenda to under item 11, which is new business. So you okay with that amendment? And seconded? All right, so with that amendment, we're good to approve the agenda. So all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, motion is carried to the amended agenda. So just remind me when I get to 11 that those should go. And down to number 6, which is disclosure of conflict of interest. Is there any? No, and seeing none. Item 7, public hearings, presentations, delegations, and petitions. And we do have 2 presentations. So we'll start this evening with Trevor Hansen, who's here to present the public transportation study from UNB for us. Thank you, Mr. Hansen.
Thank you. It's an absolute pleasure to be able to be here this evening, and I thank you for bringing up the report there. My name is Trevor Hansen. I teach transportation engineering and planning at the University of New Brunswick in Fredericton. For the last almost 20 years, I've been involved with studying community transportation systems at a variety of different levels. I'm actually originally from just outside of Gary, so it's kind of cool to be able to stop by here and be part of this project. I've really enjoyed working with your staff. You have some great top-notch people as part of your team here, and this project. I guess there's kind of 3 things that I'm going to talk to you about tonight. I guess I have 20 minutes, so I'm going to start my thing because I usually talk in about 50-minute chunks. So if I can stop me when I get going too long here. But I want to do a little bit of a broad overview of what we did for you and why we did this. Then I want to talk about 2 other things that next steps for you as a town to consider going forward. We're not saying what you need to do. We're saying what you should maybe consider. And then I'd love to open it up for discussion, see what you think. If you had asked me, was I going to produce a 22,000-word document, I don't think that was in the cards. But it was so fascinating that we were kind of looking through the data, looking through the stuff that we're working on, I just couldn't stop typing. And the reason being that the reason we, again, found this project working for the town as such an valuable, important research project is there's challenges that are unique to your town, but there's also challenges that are here that are also everywhere. And if we could figure out a way to address them here, there's going to be a lot of communities that will benefit from that. So that's what I found was a really fascinating project to work together on. So this document that we put together for you, it originally came from this concept. It says public transportation study. And we originally were approached to say, can you help us maybe figure out an idea for commuter bus service? And I know that there's been before, and I know there's a current service going into town now. But we said, well, maybe you need to take one step back from that. The question being, are you going to get what you want out of, like you could do a bus study, but I've been to a lot of different communities, done a lot of different work, And that's the first thing we say when we're not sure what to do with mobility. We need a bus to do something, okay? And I always worry about whether it's going to succeed. We have long memories, things don't go right. So what I really appreciated about, again, working with your staff was they said, yes, you know what? The idea of taking a step back to say, yeah, we recognize that a bus is a tool, but what are we trying to build? So that's where we came from with this project. That's why it's gone up to be 90-some pages as a document, because as we're going through, one of the big challenges that's out there, particularly in towns of Grand Bay-Westfield size, is that there's not the documentation, there's not the technical guidance that's out there that we'd love to see that can tell you the answer to that question, do you need a bus or not? So what we wanted to do is, perhaps, do I have control of that or no? Okay, well, I'll just control it.
Yes, there's a mouse.
Okay, thank you. So this started off as a student project. Han Pham, she helped me out, and then Madison Hubbard, who works in my research lab, she helped out too with a bunch of stuff. As you go through, you'll see that this is it's kind of a lengthy document here. But we started off with a community call. We did a bunch of research. We went through, tried to find as much data as we could about what was going on in the town. We tried to do some analysis, maybe some stuff that hadn't been done like this before, to try to provide some insight. Because if you're going to approach it the same way that you have in the past, are you going to come up with a different result? And that's what concerns me, right? How do we, because you're hearing, we're facing challenges. Cost of gas is going through the roof, right? Cost of automobile ownership is going through the roof, right? But cars give us the kind of mobility that we've never had before, so what do we do? Right? So what we wanted to try to do through this report is equip you as a community with data, with analysis, with as much stuff as we could put in there, with different ways to look at it, plus opportunities to consider going forward, so that you can have something to draw from as you are trying to make decisions about what to do next. So I'm going to start by just showing you a few things here. And I talked about, I took this picture. We were coming from the consultation at the point there, the market. The market was great, by the way. Really enjoyed that. So we tried to get as much data as we could. We had traffic data, ferry data. So if you go through this document, you're going to see, like, we've got stuff about the ferry, we've got traffic data, we've done estimates. We worked with Urban Royal Rides to count how many people took their service. We looked through every report that we could find to see how much travel people were taking with St. John Transit. We even got some information from Imperial Theatre, which was kind of cool. We even created a simple travel demand model to see if we could figure out what was happening internally in the community. And we tried to estimate healthcare demand travel data for you. We tried to estimate accessible travel demand. So stuff that, based on other work that we've done to try to equip you with some information going forward. There's a lot of things we learned, and there's going to be some stuff you already know, but I can tell you there's the importance of being able to write this all down and have a playbook. It's pretty huge. Yes, you know what? 98% of people who work in Grand Bay-Westfield drive to work. But you actually have very good carpooling behavior. You've got really cool carpool lots, and there's some informal ones too. But there's some really good stuff that's already happening, right? There it is. Only 2.6% of people use transit to go to work. That's probably not a surprise. It's higher than a lot of communities, actually. But why is it just where it is? Well, we did some data analysis. We looked from where we're at to various key points, and yeah, it takes you 3 to 4 times as long to go by us. Are you gonna take it? Probably not, right? If you're taking it, it's not working for you. So we have to recognize that. I think it's so important to meet people where they're at. If we really want to affect change, we have to kind of see what's going on and meet people where they're at. And there are people that are saying, okay, we're using transit. It's not working for me the way I'd like to, so what can we do? At the same time, focusing on commuting. It was interesting trying to bring some different data sets into this. About 15% of people's travels for work. That means 85% of the time you're doing something else. So are we considering all those other things that people are doing. Again, meeting people where they're at. Okay, I've got activities, park review I've got to get to. My kids have got to. Oh, they're going into the aquatic center, or I've got this issue, I've got that issue, and that's not being captured if you're looking at commuting only. So part of what we want to do is also maybe challenge some of the stuff that maybe transportation can help you work through. So I've known Urban Rural Ride for years, worked with them. I think it's an outstanding program. I don't think it's quite meeting its potential yet here. And I think part of it's probably awareness. But it's also volunteers are called upon to do a lot. And what are they responsible for? Most of the time they go on medical trips. Those are the most resource intensive of all volunteer transport trips. We did those studies too. So you've got that kind of happening, right? And we did, and you know from, I really like your active transportation plan. Congratulations on getting that together. We looked at that going into this year, and that came up a lot when we were talking to people. And thank you for the town. They put a great survey out real quickly. We helped them out a bit with it. And you really have a town that mobilizes to respond to stuff. You've been engaged community. Really impressive. This survey can't speak for everybody, but it gives you some insight, okay? 60% of people who responded to that survey reported being impacted by the rising costs of vehicle ownership and rising cost of fuel. Okay? So that's what's going on in people's minds. And improving public transit was a common theme. So you get these two things going, right? Well, I drive all the time, so I don't really need anything, but the costs are going up. But they're outside your control, right? And that's the big challenge. The majority of residents believed it was important to help them reduce how much they spend on transportation, better connect them with others in their community, and make it easier to participate in recreational and social activities. So often, right, when we talk about transportation or public transportation, it's about utility of it. It's about making it as for everyone else but me. And I remember when I went to that, the Brundage Point there, the market, and I asked people about what transportation issues were going on. They've talked about everyone else. I said, okay, what do you need? Would you use this? It's a very different answer, right? If you want it successful, you're going to want something that's going to work for you. So everybody's included. Everyone's part of it, right? So there's charts like this throughout our report. But here, this was something that we thought might be useful to you, because when people responded back, they also talked about their priorities in terms of timing. What should happen now? What should happen later? Better transit connections, on-demand public transit, improved transit within town. You do get a sense of what people kind of maybe already organizing themselves. Maybe they don't need a program for carpooling, but maybe it could be helpful. And you've already done some great work here. When the town asked on their survey, 20 years from now, what would you have liked a plan or something to have accomplished? One of the most common responses was transit, whatever that looked like. Some other cool things, autonomous vehicles, so forth, but that was one legacy that a lot of people had put. What you'll see, so, who's doing what elsewhere? This is a Madawaska region, Edmundston area. They have, there's efforts throughout regions throughout the province at the moment to, now that the regional commissions have a transportation service mandate, try to organize themselves in terms of delivering that. So every region's a little different, and Fundy region, as you know, is going through a transit study at the moment. So we thought it was important to position this work as one to help the town figure out how it wants to be parked, right? Helping the community here figure out if once that other Fundy study comes out, what role do they see themselves in? What do they want? How do you get there? So I thought this was interesting because this was in Edmundston region, they now have a fixed route service, handles one type of trips. They have an accessible on-demand service that handles other types of trips. And they have their volunteer service, which handles other types of trips. It's all branded under one big umbrella. And a number of folks talked about the Flex Bus in St. John. They thought it was pretty cool, so I thought it was kind of cool to include in there too. But there's other things that there's seasonal transport. You see some stuff in St. Andrews, right? You've got a great market here, and there's a whole network of markets going on. There's a whole bunch of stuff happening at the school, and and the ball field tonight, and there was a great ice cream shop I just came from, and I'm full of chocolate and caffeine at the moment. Transportation can do more than just get you to work. Right? This is where an engineer is going to start talking about philosophy. It's going to be kind of funny, right? But when I get to this next thing about what are some things for you to consider going forward, that what is your transportation planning philosophy going to be? So that's why take a step back from the bus service question. Because as you're looking through this, what is it that you want to accomplish? Transportation isn't, like, we don't demand transport, okay? We demand to do activities, we demand to do things. Transportation enables that. So if you come from that perspective, what is the missing piece that you want to accomplish that transportation is going to help you for? So I've suggested that you consider two philosophies. The first, mobility that builds community. So instead of mobility as something that is a demand that must be satisfied, a number of seats that we need to put there, think about how is what we're going to provide going to build your community? You're already doing that with active transportation, right? People are out walking together. That is part of building community. These bus services or whatever that might look like elsewhere is part, and that branding is part of building that identity elsewhere, right? That's part of building community. Volunteers, building community. It could be a community of users, but I love your logo or your motto, right? Neighbors by nature. It just works on so many levels, right? And that's why you see so much carpooling. People are neighbors, they help each other out. But you may want to think about, if that concept of mobility building community, are there things that are creating barriers already? Is it infrastructure? Is it service? Is it attitude, habits? What do we have to overcome, right? At the same time, right, people are talking about gas price issues. You got to recognize and anticipate and adapt to broader trends impacting transportation. Things are outside your control. There's not a provincial transportation service policy yet. That's tough to deal with, right? There's not that oversight. So a lot of communities are dealing with it on their own, or now more so at the regional level. So then it comes to what are you going to do next, or what can you do next? So what we structured here is a series of 5 opportunities based on our review of all the data, all the analysis, everything else that we could come up with. We said, what would be a way for you to go forward? I'm not saying this is something you have to do. It's about recognizing whether this is something you should do. And that's the only thing you can decide, not me. The first is, this opportunity is what I call pivoting from a transit as a stepping stone to driving mindset to transportation that adds value for residents. So just think about the difference that is. We don't ask a park bench whether or not it's doing its job, providing a service. It exists to provide a service. As long as it's there and I sit, I benefited from it. But I would think if your vision enables mobility that did not exist before, if it results in reduced travel times, if it builds community, if it relieves the stress of finding alternatives, it may be the kind of value that your citizens are looking for. But it's about building that value. It has to be something they see as an investment. And that leads kind of to the second opportunity here, which is, what does that conversation look like on investing for a vision? What's the right level of investment? Right now, you're spending about $6 per capita on transit. Hinton, Alberta, with 10,000 people is at 25. The larger municipalities in New Brunswick are about 44, and the national average is 134. A lot. But it's commensurate with your demand and the size of the community, right? So you have to decide, what is it we're trying to achieve, and start the conversation of what we think we want to invest, right? Some communities probably have invested big time in stuff that they know adds value to their community. That conversation will be important to happen. At the same time, you need to clearly define your success, but foster those conditions. There's some folks that will say transit's only worth it if it's full 100% of the time and make 100% of its money back, which no transit in the system world does. And we don't ask that same thing about any other infrastructure, right? So it's about determining what we value as success. And then building on those existing successes, which you have many. You already have an agreement. You've got transit set up. Can you build on it? You already have an active transportation plan, right? You're making some great progress. You have a volunteer driver program. There's a lot of stuff you're already doing very well at. Is there opportunities? Oh, I think so. Can you further coordinate? Can you brand? What are those things? But that's why we said take a step back. Lastly, accept the fact that these different transportation problems aren't going to be solved by one bus. There's a lot of different things about that activity thing, right? Activities that we do, and overcoming that inertia for change is tough. And we recognize that. So you'll see this document is full of stuff. There's lots of stuff that we get into here, and I hope that it adds value for you as a community. I hope you're able to use it to inform your decision making going forward, and I didn't leave much time for questions because I was talked too much. But thank you.
Thank you very much. I know I found this really interesting, even though it was long, it was informative, and I really take to heart like about how you ask people what their first thought is more buses, but it's bigger than that. That's how I've always looked at it, is more bus service, better bus service, but it really is more interconnected. So I got a lot of value from this. Thank you for the 5 kind of opportunities you pointed out, and ways to think about it. So I enjoyed it, but I won't take up all the floor. If anybody has any questions, Councilor McCutcheon.
I don't have any questions, but I just have some comments, and it was an engaging presentation. I really appreciate it. Thorough, detailed, great info, great suggestions. And my favorite part of it was the children's chocolate playground in Copenhagen. That's such a cool idea. I loved it.
You know what? I think you could do it. I think it would be so cool. They do that. I'm so glad you found that. I drove around. I did a YouTube video about it. I did a YouTube video about the ferries here too, by the way. But yeah, and you can do that, and that might be a really cool thing because it helps train, right? It educates and you can, I think that is a great opportunity for you.
Yeah, I really like that.
Thank you for your presentation, Trevor. One thing that I found, there's a lot of information here, a lot of good information about transportation. One thing that I found was a little bit inspiring was the intercity transportation. You know, like this kind of opens up some ideas for where can we start. Like there's all kinds of things here, but how do you get the bus going, I guess, you know, and so that is kind of a good thing. And the other thing that I totally agree with is the urban-rural rides. There's not enough known, there's not enough information out there for people to be aware of it. So I think maybe we could do a little bit of work on that, on creating awareness around that. That's a beneficial service and it's run by volunteers. And so, you know, I think that was a good point too, but I did enjoy all the information. So I think it's just a matter of kind of zoning in on maybe, can we do some pilot projects? Can we start with one thing?
Yes, start one thing, right? Start with one thing.
Just get somewhere.
Yeah.
So thank you.
I as well, Trevor, found that very interesting. I noticed you pointed out Claire, Nova Scotia, who's using that system. I think it would really benefit our seniors too in this town.
Absolutely. Anything that kind of gets people together. I rented a bus one time and I went through a senior pilot project in Gary to go to Tri-County Complex in Fredericton Junction. And the thing wasn't the bus, it was the community the bus built.
Yeah.
And they kept going after when the pilot project ended. So there is that great opportunity. And in fact, there might be some folks who are retired who can also contribute to the volunteer program or contribute to some of this in some way. Building that community, not just as users, but as people who have something to give back.
Carpooling, because we have the carpooling.
Yes,
It's a good idea because my son carpools with 4 people, so he certain location, like we look to find really small mills that people can go to town and a 4 or 5 car. That's a great start for transportation by itself. Carpool is a good step ahead, right?
Absolutely. So you're showing that you're willing to get together and coordinate.
Yes.
And that's kind of almost the first step, right? It's hard to get a bigger bus service if you're not already doing that, because mass transit works when you've got a whole bunch of people going someplace.
Yes.
And you may even want to consider, when you talk about that one thing, right, there are activities that happen at Harbor Station, right? In our report, we estimate there's about 100 folks from Bay-Westfield that go to a Sea Dogs game. There might, right, I think you can bring joy to mobility. I don't think it has to be always so utilitarian, but that's how you solve the utilitarian problem, right? That's how you get people brought in, because they see the bigger picture, that it's no longer about this, it's like, what's that? Uniting peace, and that's one thing I think the town does really well in so many ways. Yeah.
big admiration for your engineering meets philosophy. Comment on that. I really like that. With your study, which demographic do you feel was underrepresented that you just couldn't connect with?
Probably the youth. Yeah, if we look at, we tried to keep this, I know with working with the town, I tried to keep the survey as straightforward and as simple as possible. But there was, within that, the youngest demographics, right, the under 20 group would have been the folks that really weren't targeted as part of that. It was tough to anyway, but it would be something perhaps to consider going forward because they're the ones that are having activities. I know there's folks that are going to university or college, right? And I also serve as the UME Transportation and Parking Committee Chair for both campuses, and you see, right, there's broader issues in people there, but certainly like for after-school activities in town or in the city, and that'd be one if I could say, put some effort in from here on, and be hearing from what the younger people have to say too, how you can help them out.
$1,000 starter card doesn't exist anymore.
Pardon me?
The sub $1,000 starter card, beginner card doesn't exist anymore, right?
No,
Unfortunately.
Unfortunately, yeah. So they would certainly benefit. Thank you for the question.
Thank you again, but I love how you're connecting transit and community. It's not just a bus, it's a community building exercise. So this is great, and it's going to give us a lot of information to build on and really help us, because I think one of the questions we get, probably one of the top 5, is about transit, bus service especially. So this is great, we really appreciate it. Thank you for all the work you've done.
Thank you, council staff. Appreciate the opportunity to work with you. It was fun.
The motion is that the council of the town of Bay-Westfield approve the public transportation study as presented. Seconded, Councilor Torrance. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? And motion is carried. So thank you so much.
Thank you very much, everyone. Appreciate it.
We have another presentation as well, our stormwater asset management plan, to be presented by Gemtech. You have here as well, and you can introduce yourselves.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Good evening, everyone. Glad to be here today presenting our stormwater plan and stormwater asset management plan, 2 in 1. So my name is Jihad Alzheimer, for the benefit of those the new councillors and some faces I think we met in the previous conference. Good to see you all. I serve the capacity of municipal and asset management lead with Gemtech. Today I'm accompanied with Nima Ab. Nima is our water resources engineer, and he's part of our hydrogeology team. So together we'll be co-presenting this tonight. The assignment is basically to develop a stormwater asset management plan, which is, like I said, 2-tier, looking at the hydrology model and then the assets associated. The objective is to protect what you have for infrastructure, protect the ecosystem, the well charging, and it's an essential service that goes alongside of your transportation system or across the road, so it's important to sustain those assets in a good state of repair. To staff, this is a lot of engineering study. To council is more of a management framework of this service, the desired level of service, and the allocated funding required. So like I mentioned earlier, I'll be presenting the asset management piece, and Nima will talk about the stormwater management aspect. We're going to share with you our methodology, what we found, and what matters to you as council, and the next steps required. The assignment is important. You own and operate a significant network of stormwater management assets, assessed at $34.5 million. Take that with a grain of salt. It's a very massive system, so we use a lot of proxies. It's intended for budgeting purposes, not for exact tendering and replacement purposes. 90 locations that are tabulated in the report have high risk area or areas that need some attention. Climate change is not helping. we're gonna see, or we're projecting, heavy rainfall events to increase by 40%. And you seem to be a little bit underfunded. You need to invest about $370,000 more a year to address the infrastructure. And we'll dive in a little bit more details in this presentation, but there's way more details in the report. The methodology, like any other plan, we looked at previously conducted plan, we looked specifically at your comprehensive asset management plan, we looked at the climate change adaptation plan, and we took a lot of information, especially in Ward 1 from your GIS system, and we worked with the staff on the budget as well. And all along, we worked closely with all your staff, with Chris, James, Brock, Nicole, Troy, along the way. So each one pulled their weight on this, and I take the opportunity to thank them here. Then Nima took the topography and the LiDAR information, and you used the complicated PC swim software, ran some simulations. We built an inventory of assets. We have over 2,500 assets. We built the inventory. We looked at the major culverts, the ones that are troublesome. Again, there's more focus in the report on those locations. We assessed the condition based on the visual inspection and an age proxy as well, for areas where we can't visually see. And then we came up with a prioritization and funding framework, a risk management framework, and then what you need to invest on an annual basis to maintain the infrastructure in a good state of repair. Your stormwater system, in a nutshell, like I mentioned, a lot of accurate information is from Ward 1. Ward 2, we had to rely on field surveys and topographical information to chase where we could find cross culverts and whatnot. But you basically have 28,000 meters or 28 kilometers of storm pipe, 46 kilometers of ditches, 528 cross culverts, that's quite a bit. 783 driveway culverts, 973 catch basins, 127 manholes, and 141 sluice boxes. So this is, in a nutshell, what your system comprises of, assessed at $34.5 million. And now I'm gonna turn it over to Nima to discuss his piece.
Hello everyone, thanks for having me today. My name is Nima, and like Jill said, I did a lot of the hydrological modeling and essentially assessing the drainage system through the town of Bay-Westfield. Now I know that we had quite a bit of data from the GIS layers from the town, so we heavily relied on that in identifying the major drainage system, which includes the main water courses over land drainage, and identifying the drainage area, but we also use the provincial LiDAR base, which is pretty accurate. It's a laser pointing based LiDAR digital elevation model that we generated using very accurate data. So we can identify what slope drains into what ditch drains into what water course, and what water course drains into what culvert, and essentially identify the pinch points, identify the resilience of the stormwater management system in the town of Bay-Westfield. Now, using the methodology we had, we reviewed about 84 square kilometers of drainage area, which contained the municipal assets. This essentially meant that we did look at the open ditches, we did look at the culverts through the GIS system. We also looked at the watersheds and the drainages and the hydrology, what the soil conditions are, what the land cover is, and what are the type of the area, what they're getting used for, the land use essentially. Based on that, we generated a hydrological model of Bay-Westfield watersheds. And this watershed includes most of the, well, if not more, all the higher, essentially priority assets which we identified as a major drainage system. So we have cross culverts, for example, that accommodates drainages through them. And we have several more upstream to them, so we have a network of these drainages through the town. Identifying what assets are in more risk required us to do some more detailed study, which we essentially come down to 100-year return period storms. So these are extreme storms that could happen once every 100 years. So they are rare, but we use them as a reference for the design and engineering. Now we did it for today's 100, what we should call historical 100-year return storms, which is essentially if today a 100-year return period storm happens, how it will look like. And we also projected the climate change in the future and identified what this impact of climate change could be in the future. So we have the future 100-year return period storm, which is essentially identifying the storm events in the year 2100. During this analysis, we identified about 90 locations, the areas of concern we'd like to call them. These could be areas that are already under strain, or could be the areas that will struggle in the future, in the future 100-year return period storm. Essentially, what comes next is that we will see, because of the impacts of climate change, we will have more extreme precipitation, more rainfalls will happen. Essentially, it means that we will see more water in the drainage system, or maybe extreme drought periods that could compact the soils and prevents the land from absorbing the water. So all of these could be have possible implications on impacts of climate change over the town. We also looked at what are the development plan in the town, what has been done previously, what the historical pictures look like from Google Earth, from available databases provincially. And we saw how development may have impacted the town drainage and the resilience to high-intensity storms and to the future climate change conditions. These are all tabulated. There are a lot more details and locations in the report itself, but the major drivers of the stormwater management issues or areas of concern is the land development and also the steep slopes, typically on the south and west of Route 177. So we have steep watercourses. These could cause flash floods. Essentially, when it rains, it doesn't have time to get absorbed into the ground. So it very quickly turns into a flashy storm of water, and it could cause erosion. It could impact your structures there, culverts, ditches, and it could, in some cases, impair the emergency routes too. So these are the locations that we would like to consider for the future condition, and there are implications of where we would expect more strain on the stormwater management structures. The ones in red are already under strain, and the ones in the green are potentially going to be under strain under future conditions, depending on how the impacts of climate change will play out. And what we would suggest in addressing these issues is that we would like to go prioritize them not only based on their age, but also based on how severe their situation is. In the information that you find in the table, you'll see that there are some culverts that are already undersized and they're already under struggle with drainage issues. You see recurring issues in the asphalt or roadways that repeated complaints sometimes that could be an indicator. So these are the points to start with, and prioritizing them based on the severity of the issue, based on how bad they look like, and we have them calculated and tabulated in this report with a lot more details, would be a better approach than relying only on the age or the material of the culverts. Slide. An implication that the climate change could have in the town, and this is all projected based on the socioeconomical pathway. This is a fancy name for how the population will react to their natural, CO2 gas releases, for example, and how severe the impact of climate change could be in the future. But on an average scenario, we expect about 40% more extreme rainfalls, which means it doesn't mean that the rainfalls only will get more in volume, but it also means that they will occur more frequently. So we expect if a drainage structure is already under the strain, in the future there will be a lot more strain on it. It will struggle in drainage, so we will see an increase in magnitude of the storms too. So if today a 100-year return storm is about 170 millimeters, in the future it could be up to 200 and more than that. So it is an increase about 20% in the extreme, in the intensity of the rainfall. These incidents could eventually cause water ponding, could cause more erosions and disruptions in your transportation. And climate responsive designs could always help. We say low impact developments or green structures. Reducing the developments that may be upstream and causing more drainage issues downstream. And for each area, especially when we have steeper slopes downstream, we would like to keep and maintain as much space and development with a lower impact development upstream. So a lot more details on the report, but I will turn this away to Jihad so she can explain the implications and how this can play out into your asset management piece.
Thanks, Eva. So in addition to the stormwater plan, we developed a guideline for developers where new development is happening in town. There are clear guidelines, so the ultimate goal is not to increase the impact of stormwater management more than what it is today, to maintain basically after development conditions should be the same as pre-development conditions. So the good news is you got more than 80% of your assets in really good shape, but condition alone, like Nima mentioned, is not a full picture. You could have a culvert that's in good condition, but it's undersized. So when we look at that, we find that 11% of your assets, accounting to approximately 3.7 million, need some attention. And the report itemized those assets. Level of service. It's basically what you're committing yourself to when it comes to stormwater management. Today, according to the Comprehensive Asset Management Plan, is maintaining property access during and after a stormwater event, and as measured by the number of days the property is inaccessible. We're recommending more level of service measures, including having your system designed for the low system, for the minor system, which is the piping system within subdivisions, basically, to be 1 to 5 year storm capacity, and the major system 1 to 100 year storm capacity. To also track the number of climate adaptation projects completed, basically tracking that 11% over time and showing a decline in that. And also to track your budget, what you're actually investing versus what's required. And then in terms of service priority framework, obviously public safety is first, then public property in right-of-way is second priority, private property in right-of-way is third priority, and the remaining would be priority number 4. When it comes to policy gaps, there's only one small policy gap when it comes to formalizing driveway culverts. Right now there's no formal policy, and you would want that because you don't want to be replacing a driveway culvert somewhere and all of a sudden the whole neighborhood saying, you replaced it at this location, we want ours replaced. There needs to be clear policy as to when this culvert can be replaced. So from this slide, I think the key takeaway is you're investing close to $183,000 a year based on the last 5 years. You need to be at 437,000 on average. But in order to address this 11% or the 3.7 million deficit, let's call it, or high risk areas, you're gonna need to invest 554,000 over the coming 7 years. This is the main takeaway, I guess, for council tonight. Recommendations, we established a series of recommended action items, establishing a stormwater management team, including engineering, public works, fire, communication, and very importantly, finance. Upgrade key high-risk infrastructure, implement maintenance and official maintenance and inspections program for your ditches, for your culverts, for your catch basins, and so on and so forth, spring maintenance basically. Model your critical minor systems, areas where you have concern. Complete an inventory of assets, especially in Ward 2, and adopt the climate change responsiveness standards and set some reserve funding to address this critical infrastructure. In terms of a roadmap to implement these suggested recommendations, start with the low-hanging fruits, the stuff that doesn't require too much funding, which is establishing the level of service after you endorse this plan, establish the team, and have an inventory for driveway culverts. Over the next little bit, in addition to building your reserve, you can start planning and completing your critical minor drainage models, implement the inspection maintenance schedule, and package the high-risk renewal into the capital plan. Once you have enough reserves and you can apply for some funding streams and so on and so forth, you can start tackling the high-risk areas. And as you go, you have to keep a live inventory of data. As you update these assets, you track progress. So, council considerations is basically adopt this plan and the implementation recommendations, direct staff to sail away with it, and something to remind staff. I know you're probably all aware that proactive is better than reactive. It's going to cost you less. You don't want a culvert to fail on a main drag when you least expect it. I'm going to leave you with that, and we're open for some questions respecting your time.
So this is a great report and really fits with our climate adaptation plans, and it's excellent information for us to be able to work from. So thank you very much. I'll open up to questions. Councilor
Thank you for that. I want to make sure I understand so of the 90 potential drainage and flooding areas that you highlighted, according to the charts, you might understand that 67% of them are already over capacity.
The 90, Deputy Mayor, the 90 locations are either undersized, and the undersized portion is detailed in the report. Some of them are twice as much undersized, some of them should be 3 times more the capacity. And the other factor is condition. They could be failing due to the bad, rotten bottom of it. So it's not necessarily a flooding prone area, it's an asset that needs attention.
But it's like 67% of the.
Undersized,
Yeah.
yes.
And that's undersized due to like the capacity it's going to happen, the storms that are going to happen in the future.
And when the time the system was installed way back, these assets live long, 60 years plus, right? The town looked differently, the guideline looked differently, the development wasn't the same, climate change wasn't the same. So all these factors combined, and now that we have lighter information that's more accurate, complicated softwares that we can work with, we can identify these areas easier than the tools they had in the past. So you're not unique in this as Bay-Westfield. Most towns across Canada have the same situation, are in the same boat.
Would retention ponds help alleviate water, like overplaying water, retention ponds, take water in and then slowly, or would it help help our situation right now, or?
To your worship, yes, retention ponds, solutions to the ditches, especially for new development.
Right.
All of that is in the guideline, all the solutions recommended for new development not to increase the problem downstream for others. Nima is an expert in this space, but there's a suite of menu items that could be adopted by the developer, including retention ponds. Anything you want to add?
Yes, I think your question is more meant towards how we can mitigate the issue at this point. So there are two elements in your answer. One is, first, like Jihad said, let's not make it worse. That means we have a guideline that addresses how, in the future, if there's going to be development, how that should be treated in terms of stormwater management. Secondly, in terms of how we can prevent the same damages, let's say we have erosion or scour at ditches, how we can prevent that. These issues and these, I guess, mitigation options are point or area specific. Each area is unique, and in some cases, well, I guess in a lot of cases, while we have a steep watershed, we have areas south and west of Route 177. It is all hilly. It drains right to the ditches down there. So essentially, it is a natural occurrence. So how we can adapt to it and how we can prevent further damages to that area, it incorporates a lot of low impact development. Let's say planting the right trees. Let's say not damaging the wetlands upstream. Let's add some engineering options to that. Maybe some small retention ponds before water just flushes into a ditch or a culvert. We have that practices that allow some more options to the towns and the areas of concern to mitigate these damages. All of them are kind of, not all, but a lot of them that we researched and found that may be useful for the town is also recorded in the stormwater management guideline, which is presented to council.
Thank you for all this information. There's a lot to absorb in here. I like your comment about what the residents can do by maybe adding a rain barrel. I think that's a great idea, especially after the drought we had last summer. So I'm from Ward 2, so we have a little bit different challenges. Ours are more the river flows and wash out of roads and things like that. And you had mentioned shallow ditches. So some of our ditches are full with earth and don't exist. So how deep should those ditches actually be?
There are standard specifications, luckily. The good news is we know for each type of road what the standard design should look like. So an engineer, when it comes to designing a ditch for a certain type of road, will be under contract, and that contract, that engineer should be able to identify how deep the ditch should be for that specific road. But typically speaking, the ditch could be, not a ditch, could just a swell carrying some drainage over. It could be a little deeper than just a foot, or maybe it could be about 1.5 meters, 2 meters. Sometimes we need to have deeper ditches, not just because there's a lot of water, but because the road embankment is high, and we don't want to just have a lot of sag. That's the design limitations. When we have higher embankments, it could result in deeper ditches.
So to recap, there's no generic one size fits all. It depends on the situation. But at a certain elevation or certain depth of a ditch, you're going to require some guardrails. So there's a sweet point. You need detailed design for the minor system in that location if you feel the ditch is shallow and water is going over the road.
My apologies, because you specifically said this does not have to do with the age of the setup. However, I couldn't help but notice that the areas of concern, culvert ID 21 to 34, there's like a large cluster there. And from the limited knowledge I have of that neighborhood, that Majestic Drive area, that's largely backfill of gravel, and it's one of the newer subdivisions. I would say newer than 60 years. What happened there?
Yes, you wanna?
I don't know exactly what happened there. What I could tell you, if it's under design, at the time, may very well be under designed or designed to different weather events. So that's a short answer
Yes,
to a very
yes.
specific area.
Yeah, very specific question. My apologies for putting you on the spot with that one.
No, I couldn't help noticing that this is a new subdivision. Is that right? So it's a new design, and typically this issue that you just mentioned, I'm not saying this could be the answer, and no one should say that before studying the area and actually looking from its own two eyeballs, addressing a lot more concerns. But what we hear a lot when we have a design of a new subdivision and all of a sudden somewhere it didn't flood or get blocked, is that the subdivision could have not actually implemented the correct stormwater management implications there. Maybe there's no catch basin which can grab the sediments, for example. If everything from a new construction goes into a catch basin and ends up in manholes or blocking culverts downstream, which are flatter all of a sudden, because up the hill we have this that comes down, and there is no slope, all of a sudden it slows down and it could back up the water too. So there are a lot of factors and elements that could play out in there, but generally speaking, we would like to see it from close and before we address it.
If I may add that before 2025, you didn't have a guideline in Grand Bay-Westfield. Now, this problem should not happen moving forward because the design engineer of any new subdevelopment should ensure and demonstrate that there's no downstream impacts of this development through retention ponds, through other engineering solutions. But before 2025, there was no guideline for Grand Bay-Westfield. So my guess is if it wasn't happening before and all of a sudden because of the new development this issue appeared, it could be one of two things: either climate change, people didn't notice it before, and now it's because of climate change it's an issue, or because of upstream development, which could happen sometimes.
And the second question, just on the process, and this is just, I'm asking your opinion on how we take this and move forward. A public assessment. Have you found that to be beneficial to open to the public and say, hey, what's up with your culverts, or has that been more problematic?
For this specific study, there wasn't a public engagement piece. So I'm not sure I get your question 100%.
Okay, I'll reframe it. When we take this information and we decide to take action on it, so you've identified what the stage approach should be.
Yeah.
In the staged approach, we're not really talking too much about public engagement. Is that intentional? Have you found that to be more problematic than it is an advantage, or is it just something that's assumed?
I to some extent. There is always benefit to recording what say historical records of complaints, for example, would be one record. When we see at the location we have repeated complaints. Say we have I guess a section of the road always washing out, and that's happened this year. That happened a couple of years before that. That may be a good indicator. So recording those complaints, engaging the community in a sense to speak, would be a good practice. It is record keeping. You can always reference that.
Also setting expectations and communicating your level of effort, your level of service to the residents. What is it that your level of service established in their neighborhood is important. What they can do to mitigate this issue, keeping the ditches clean, keeping objects away from cleaning the ends of culverts, so on and so forth. That would be helpful, engaging the public in doing what their role and what the town is responsible for, and that you have a policy in place, and when the driveway culverts is to be replaced, and having a formal program for cleanup and maintenance. Communicating all that is really helpful. But getting their opinion on how stormwater should be managed
is more of a science or technical aspect that your engineering and staff should lead.
Appreciate that, thank you.
So open ditches, are they helpful or are they they're more hindrance?
Open ditches, are they helpful or more hindrance? It's a collection system for managing stormwater. You could collect it through pipes and a pipe system basically, or through an open ditch, depending on the aesthetics of the neighborhood. Both systems would work. It's not one or the other.
What's cheaper then?
What's cheaper? Typically open ditches.
So having open ditches and water seep in the ground faster through an open ditch than culverts, you put all the water in culverts, it has to go out the end of the culvert. So when the water is going in the ground, it's not going in the culvert. So you get too much water upstream and it comes down, it's like a barrel, like it just shoots out the end. That's more erosion than like an open ditch, so I don't know how we can address that. Like more open ditch styles probably benefit more of our town than put stuff in culverts and rush it out like too much.
I would look at it on a case-by-case basis. Open ditches could be the cheaper solution in some locations. The intention is to take the stormwater into the stream ultimately in a safe way without eroding people's property and causing damage to infrastructure.
Yeah.
You can do that via a pipe system, you can do that with an open ditch system.
Then you're increasing the streams, as I know, I live by a stream, and it's like a Russian sport, you get all the water from Majestic and everywhere else, coming and piped all to one location, it's like a tsunami coming down the river, because too much water in one area.
That is a very good point.
And you get a lot of erosion on the bottom end of our, like, again, our little stream below us is only 5 feet wide, now it's 20 feet wide, because directing water through culverts. So,
And like Jihad mentioned, this should be looked at as a case by case basis. And just to mention and clarify that the ditch is still a conveyance system. In no engineering design, the ditch is supposed to absorb a significant volume of water.
Also, right?
Yes, it is a small area compared to the entire watershed which development has a lot of.
If we talk about retention ponds, you have water up the stick, the water will seep in the ground eventually too, so help water in your wells and that stuff. So we get all the water off the land down in a culvert into the river, that really doesn't help people with wells.
That's right.
So that's my theory of it all, so.
Best management practices also include the recharging of the groundwaters. One of the good practices are the swells, the shallow swells without flooding. It should be engineered, designed. So you're on point.
Any other questions?
I just had a quick question. I wasn't sure if I saw this in the presentation or not, but were you saying that you would recommend using GIS?
We were, yes, for tracking your inventory, your linear assets into ArcGIS, yes.
Okay.
We recommend you do use that for Ward 1.
Yeah.
Ward 2 doesn't have a lot of information in GIS.
If I add to that, ArcGIS is just a commercial name. You can use any other GIS program.
Yeah, I'm familiar with
yes.
GIS.
Yes. I believe you have a contractor in Fredericton who does the upkeep of your geographic information system.
Okay.
Guess we keep you here all night talking about
Oh,
stuff.
well, that's what we're here for.
No, but thank you very, very much. This is great. We really appreciate it. We got you back again, so the new council. So we've heard about this a couple times. So we appreciate this very much. And I guess I can do the motion that the council of the town of Grand Bay-Westfield accept the stormwater asset management plan as presented. Councilor Burns and seconded Councilor Beal. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion is carried. So thank you guys very much. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
That's our public hearings, presentations, delegations, petitions, all done. So we can move on to item 8 on the agenda, which is the minutes of previous meetings. And there are 2 sets of minutes on this one. First, special meeting of council, June 10th, 2026. The motion here is that the council of the town of Grand Bay-Westfield adopt the minutes of the special meeting of council, June 10th, 2026. Have a motion? Councillor Wheel, second. Councillor Bowman, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion is carried, thanks. And the second one, regular council meeting on the same day, June 10th, 2026. And the motion is that the council of the town of Grand Bay-Westfield adopt the minutes of the regular meeting of council of June 10th, 2026. Have a motion? Councillor Burby, second. Councillor London, and all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion is carried. So we can move on to unfinished business, which brings us right back to our stormwater management plan. And we had an earlier presentation from Gemtech, and we brought them back again for the final presentation tonight for the stormwater asset management plan. So we wanted to make sure the new council had all of the information. So anything else you wanted to add?
Certainly. So the intent this evening is, in general, we received this information. They had a number of recommendations. It's important that council and staff have time to absorb that. Some of those recommendations will be brought back to council for future considerations. However, this evening, the recommended motion revolves around using this as a guiding document for all those plans in the future. And the specific recommendations that are in there, such as the level of service policy, and those will be brought back at future times.
So the motion in this case is that the council of the town of Grand Bay-Westfield receive the stormwater management plan as a guiding document to inform administration's future update to the town's existing asset management plan. So we have the motion. Councilor McMarsh, second. Councilor Ruby. Any comments or questions on the motion?
With the last statement that they made there, one of the last statements on incorporating public engagement as an awareness component, would that be built into this plan?
It could be. I'm sure we can also ask them. There's a few things that I noted too with respect to potential communication ideas to individuals. I know the staff, whenever there's work being done, does communicate out to the particular area with respect to what's being done, but maybe a general idea too we can talk about.
Yes, we can certainly look at, as work is done, the types of things that people can do to help, which we do even now, like when there's heavy storms, heavy rainfall, part of the advice that we offer to residents is to help make sure that the catch basins are clear, because if they're all covered, they also can't take in the water. So yes.
And we also had a presentation that the last council heard from an individual about what residents could do with respect to planting certain types of trees and certain type of climate adaptations on their land as well to help with the water runoff, as Councillor Jones was saying, and water seepage, so we can look into some communication. Any other questions?
I have a question, to the CEO of Finance. He recommended that we allot a certain amount of money every year to for reserves. Does the province have a cap on that with other reserves?
Go ahead.
That would be part of our capital reserves, and there's no cap on the capital reserves. Technically, we can't officially designate any of those reserves specifically for any items, but it's something that council are welcome to consider as we enter budget deliberations later in the year, if increased allocations are wished.
The only other one I would throw in there is a lot of these, as these develop into actual projects, the grant funding that's available right now for climate adaptation mechanisms and this type of work is pretty high, so we would certainly be looking to apply for anything again. Because certainly those are scary numbers if we had to come up with them completely on our own, so we'll certainly be looking for some help.
Any other questions or comments? No? So all in favor? Any opposed? Motion is carried. And we also have another new business item under line 9B, which is purchase of a new fire rescue tanker truck. And the motion involved in this one, I'll read it first and I can ask for some info, is that the council of the town of Grand Bay-Westfield table item 9B to the regular council meeting of July 13, 2026. Do we have a motion? Councilor Burby, second. Councilor McMarsh, pass it to the CEO to discuss.
Thank you. So at the last council meeting, I believe, May, we had made council aware through the fire department that we had only received one response to our RFP. It was considerably higher than was expected, and so recommendation to council was to table that item, to not actually award that tender or that award that work at that time to the sole respondent, to allow staff time to research other options for procurement through Canoe. That was done, that was completed. It has yielded what to this point seems like a very positive response. We're just recommending tabling it for one more meeting because, of course, the time it takes for a company to draft, this is, 100-200 pages worth of specifications for these types of vehicles. So it took them a considerable amount of time to get that drafted, for them to go back and forth with our team to come up with what they can provide and so on. It did, as I said, just this week or just late last week, come back with pricing that we feel is absolutely worth postponing another couple of weeks until the next meeting.
Any comments or questions?
I have a question. So it's the 2017 cloud truck, right?
This is the fire truck.
Oh, sorry, yeah.
No questions or comments? Ask all in favor? Any opposed? Motion is carried, thank you. So, item 10, bylaws, there being none, we can move on to item 11, which are new business recommendations. Apologies, there are a few, so we can get through these. The first one is 11A, which is UMNB, the Union of Municipalities of New Brunswick, Property Tax Reform Advocacy. And this is in with respect to the new property tax changes that were tabled by the government earlier this year. I can read the motion and then ask Celia for the detail. Motions that the Council of the Town of Bay-Westfield approve the mayor signing the UMNB letter to the Premier of New Brunswick regarding property tax reform. Second to Councilor McCarthy. Discuss.
Thank you. So yes, in response to the Government of Brunswick's Bill 49, an act respecting property tax reform, the Union of Municipalities of Brunswick, or UNMB, has prepared the attached materials, in your kit, outlining its position. It has been relatively clear through council that they share that opinion. This was not the type of response that was hoped for in the province. So this letter from UNMB, which is basically a form letter that all municipalities are being asked to attach their name to, in essence similar to like a petition. All municipalities can express their feelings on it. Should council agree with those feelings, the request would be to authorize the mayor to fill out the highlighted information that's missing, which is basically a few things that we've done to demonstrate that we are in fact a transparent and responsible order of government that this should not apply to.
Any comments or questions? All in favor? Any opposed? Motion is carried, thank you. And the next few are basically administrative in relation to the council switching. So I don't know if there's any details you wanted to add with them or just in general. What I might do actually is pull out D, and we can talk about that after, and I can talk about B, C, E, and F are kind of all under the heading of administrative. Do you want to add anything onto those before? Basically in respect to changing of council and there's a new council, so we have to change some signing authorities and.
Yes, so I can certainly kind of cover all those at once. So yeah, item 11B, the appointment of the bylaw officer. The outgoing CAO was one of the appointed bylaw officers, just to ensure continuity, especially with summer vacations. The recommendation is to appoint myself, the acting CAO, can also be a bylaw enforcement officer, just to ensure we have people. Banking is similar, it's just transferring the outgoing CAO to the new. There is a little bit extra on that related to the number of which councillors are signing. We have an outgoing councillor who is assigning, so there will be a recommendation there to reassign that. as well as a retired member that's no longer with the town, have them removed, those types of things. And apologies, we were allowed to
Just
be
E,
in that
we'll
as well.
talk about, yeah, we'll talk about E and F.
E is related to council appointments, so both E and F are similar, they're just separated in reports to separate the motions. Essentially, we would typically, on the election of the new council, would recommend the appointment of the various committees, other than those that are a term appointment or a term appointment. Sometimes our representative on certain boards or commissions are, for X number of years or whatever. But those that are appointed through council, they would come back. The recommendation at this point is to only do a few of the ones that are actually vacant now because of the election, and bring the remainder of the appointments back following council's strategic planning session, just so we're not going through this process and in a month and a half or 2 months from now, repeating the process. And that includes F, which is the Community Vitality Committee. That, when that committee was established, it was clear in the motion that it was for that term of council. So effectively, on your swearing in, that council is now null and void. So, but that's an important committee, especially with Canada Day coming up, so we want to make sure that they're in place. So,
Alright, so with that, I'll read the motion. So first is 11B, and the motion is that the council of the town of Grand Bay-Westfield appoint Troy Gocho, acting CAO, as a bylaw enforcement officer pursuant to section 72 of the Local Governments Act of New Brunswick, effective June 22nd, 2026. Michael Mover, Councilor London, seconder, Councilor Burke. Any questions or comments? No? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion is carried, thank you. And 11C, the motion is that the council of the town of Grand Bay-Westfield appoint the following persons as signing authorities for all banking documents on behalf of the town. The mayor, Brittany Merrifield, councillor Aaron Jewell, councillor Carrie Murphy, acting chief administrative officer and clerk Troy Gocho, chief financial officer treasurer James Barrington, and assistant treasurer Hannah Chen. So can I have a mover? Councillor Schwank, seconded, councillor Wheel. Any questions, comments? No, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Great, thanks, motion is carried. And I'll flip to E, council committee appointments. It's that the council of the town of Grand Bay-Westfield appoint Councillor Brandon London to the Age Friendly Committee, Councillor Laura Wheel to the New Brunswick Municipal Employees Pensions Plan, and Councillor Laura Wheel to the Planning Advisory Committee. Councillor Burke, seconded Councillor Gellens. Any questions or comments? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion is carried, and thank you both to Councillor London and Councillor Wheel for stepping in for those committees. Those will be good. And 11F, which is the Community Vitality Committee temporary extension. And the motion is that the council of the town of Grand Bay-Westfield extend the establishment and terms of reference of the Community Vitality Committee until completion of the strategic plan review scheduled for August 2026. Councillor Burke, seconded. Councillor London. Any questions, comments? Nope. All in favor? Any opposed? The motion is carried. Thank you all for that speed run. Now we'll go back to one that needs a bit of discussion.
actually, we need to jump back to 11A just for a quick moment,
Sure.
the UMB letter. We may have missed it, but we don't think there might have been a mover in the second.
No mover, second round? Oh, yeah, there I thought there was.
So Councillor London, do we call who's second?
I think it was.
Yeah, it was
Okay,
Yeah.
so second, thank you.
Okay, thanks. So now I'll pop to 11D, which I skipped over because it was a bit different than the administrative items. It's the works building demolition. So I can just ask DCO to give a bit of detail on this one before the motion.
Thank you. So the concept is relatively clear about demolishing a building that is basically, the short of it is it's the cheaper option of the two options, so I'll let our public works director explain.
Thank you, Your Worship, Council, staff. We do works at a storage building located at 150 Harris Road. We store some of our trackless attachments in that building. Staff was in there during the day and noticed there was a leak in the roof. So we had a contractor come perform a small patch repair on the open section of the roof. While they were also there, they repaired the fascia board around the exterior. There was some pieces missing and then also some rock boards that needed to be replaced. That weekend, the building sustained a lot of damage. It was during a weather event. The roof, a lot of the roofing was removed. The interior of the building is very wet. In order to repair the roof and rehabilitate the interior to bring it up to standard for storage, as our acting CEO mentioned, the cost is significant, and that's why Works is recommending, or Works is seeking approval to demolish the building.
So I can make a motion with any questions. The motions of council of the town of Grand Bay-Westfield authorize the demolition and removal of the municipal storage building located at 115 Airfield Road. Have a mover? Councilor Jones, second. Councilor Jones. Are there any questions or comments? Councilor Jones?
We tear it down, we can rebuild the same location, or are we not allowed to build on the small site? If we tear some down, we can't rebuild?
That would be a question for a development officer. However, we do not have any plans to rebuild the structure on that site at this time.
Could we put a storage containers there for,
Certainly, that is an option. We will be moving some of the equipment that has historically been stored there to a storage container at a different Works facility. Based off this location, just on the main stretch by the school, we could likely find another location for a storage container. However, that could be explored.
Councilor Burke?
Same question.
Same question? Perfect. Any other questions or comments? So on the motion, all in favor? Any opposed? No, great, thanks. Motion is carried. So I guess with all my moving it around, we're on to 11H, which is the 2025 annual report. And I guess I'll read the motion first, then I can ask for discussion. So the motion is that the council of the town of Grand Bay-Westfield receive file annual report.
Right, you guys want to.
Yeah. Alright, so appeal of fine, 280 Woolston. Alright, so this one, it's a novel one for us, so it might require some discussion, so I will read the motion on this one first. And the motion is that the council of the town of Grand Bay-Westfield direct the CAO to deal with this fine. So there's the appeal, the request is for the appeal of the fine, so I will ask the CAO to give a bit more discussion before we get into the fine.
Certainly, so this is a property standards bylaw violation that was addressed by staff. It did result in a fine being issued. The property has since been cleaned up following the issuing of the fine. The resident receiving the fine has appealed to council discretion for basically their request is to remove the fine or cancel the fine in its total. Council has three options. They can uphold the fine as it is issued. They can choose to rescind the fine in recognition of subsequent compliance achieved by the property owner, or you could amend the fine to recover only the town's direct costs associated with enforcement, which totals $270.88. This was the cost of the Canada Post service charges, doctor service processing, serving fees, as well as employee time.
Before I open up to more discussion or questions, which I think we probably need to do before we get a formal motion in place, if I could just ask the deputy CEO, the acting CEO, to give us a bit more detail on the process behind this, like how it happened, and how the plan was put in place and the notice and things like that.
Okay, so typically, and not typically, but in a particular case, and in all cases, when the town receives a complaint about a property standard violation, that is investigated by the development officer or by a law enforcement officer. It's documented. A letter was issued to the property owner by registered mail that is tracked and documented as being received, not necessarily received by the person, but was delivered to that person's mailbox. That letter indicated that certain actions needed to be completed, which basically was to clean up the property or the debris that was present by a certain date, and included the bylaw information itself, as well as the statement along the lines of to to avoid further actions on part of the town to remedy the situation, they had this amount of time frame. When that was not completed, when that date hit its time, the fine was then issued by the process server. That's where those costs have come in. The fine was issued to the property owner. At that time, the property was cleaned up. The appeal was sent in via email from the property owner. And as far as at this stage, council will make their decision this evening. That is the final process, the end of the process from the town's perspective. Following that, if the resident in question wants to appeal that further, there is no process within the town for them to do so. That would then require basically going to court, bringing court to town, or the town, sorry, to court.
And, sorry, there's like one more question, but with respect to the amount of the fine, I assume this is a first offense, so how is, if I can just get some idea of how that was treated?
Yes, so under legislation, the maximum fine is $10,200. Obviously, that would be completely unreasonable for a first offense. This particular fine amount of $1,240, I believe it was based primarily on our legal opinion from our law firm, to be based on previous fines issued for the same thing. A subsequent fine would then continue to increase. So if there were basically a repeat offender each incident, that fine would increase up to the maximum of the $10,000.
So are there any, I guess, questions before we have a motion to read out? Questions or comments?
We do motion first, or use questions after?
Well, I'm deciding the motion and then the motion, yeah, there's a motion I have there, but I'll read the motion, is that the council of the town of Bay-Westfield direct the CAO to uphold the fine as issued. So can I have a motion? We can amend this if we feel like that. Motion by Councilor seconder. Councilor Valens, and any discussion, comments on the motion?
Or what we can be talking about on this area, or
Pardon me, sir?
were you talking on the divestment or the?
Yes. If there are any questions on the process or any concerns with potentially upholding fines.
This is kind of a difficult one. I like to give people the benefit of the doubt. She didn't get the first letter. The second letter she got it, I'm sure she was shocked at the $1,200 fine. My thought is option 3, where she just recoup the cost. Give her the benefit of the doubt, and hopefully the property stays cleaned up.
So we have the potential, okay, so the cost to the town were $270.88, so the potential is for the council to reduce the fine or amend it to recover the town's direct costs associated with the enforcement. I think that's your, so if that can be the amended motion.
Yeah.
Anybody else have any questions or comments before so I can read the amended motion then, is that the council of the town of Bay-Westfield direct the CAO to amend the fine amount to recover only the town's direct costs associated with enforcement, totaling $270.88, including Canada Post charges, DocuServe Limited, process serving fees, and town employee time. And that amended motion is consistent with the mover and seconded. So, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion is carried. So thank you for catching me for missing that. But now we'll move on to 11H, which is where I'm the 2025 annual report. And the motion here is that the council of the town of Bay-Westfield receive and file the annual report 2025, and that the report be made available per the Governance Act 2017, Section 105, and Regulation 2018-54 on our website www.grandbaywestfield.ca and at the town office. So mover, Councilor Wheeler, seconder, Councilor Burke. Any questions or comments? I guess let everybody know on this one. I did get this question a few times, I guess during the election period, about where people can find it and when it comes out. And every year it's in June, according to the Local Governance Act. This annual report comes out and it is available online, so we encourage everyone to do it. So, all in favor? Any opposed? Motion is carried, thank you. All right, and the next two are good ones, first quarter financial updates. So 11I is the 2026 first quarter general fund financial update. And the motion is that the council of the town of Grand Bay-Westfield receive and file the 2026 first quarter general fund financial update as presented. I have a mover, Councilor Schwartz, seconder, Councilor, and I guess I'll ask the CEO to take this one for a second.
Yes, so this is, as noted in the name of the quarterly report that we'll receive. I'll let the CFO cover off what we're referring to.
Thank you, yes, Your Worship and Council. This is the first report for the 2026 year. We prepare these reports every quarter and bring it forward to Council to provide some visibility on our financial standing as we progress throughout the year. So, unfortunately, we are projecting a small deficit in the general fund, $64,000. The winter conditions were quite adverse. The Works Department had to apply higher rates of salt than we'd anticipated and budgeted for. So we are expecting to spend more than budgeted on salt for the year. Also, the geopolitical situation has resulted in higher fuel prices. Again, outside the bounds of the prices that we had budgeted for, so we are projecting an overspend in fuel by the time we get to the end of the year. There were no other structural issues identified with the budget. Everything else seemed to be in line. It's really just those two items that are creating a deficit at this stage. I would like to note for Council that we have prepared an updated format of our financial report. We believe it's a lot more comprehensive. A new ERP system is giving us a lot more visibility and tools to do this. There's some commentary in there. We've identified if there are any risk areas and included amounts where the reserves stand today. If Council accepts this report, we would like to publish it on our webpage by the end of the week. And as these reports get approved, we'll add them there for residents to see if they wish to know where the town stands financially.
That's a good idea. Any questions or comments for the CFO? So, all in favor of the motion? Motion is carried. So, we're still on the financial updates. This time it's the sewer utility. So, the motion here for 11K is that the council of the town of Grand Bay-Westfield receive and file the 2026 first quarter sewer utility fund financial update as presented. Do I have a mover? Councilor Bill, second Councilor Bridget. And I guess I'll pass it again to the CAO and CFO.
CFO can break.
Thank you, yes, again, Your Worship and Council. So, the sewer utility, this is the small wastewater facility that we run for about approximately half of the town connected to it, and users pay a yearly fee, and when they flush their toilet, we take care of what comes out. So we are projecting a small surplus of around $5,000. What we've seen this year, and we hope to see more of in the future, is with new development and new buildings. We've seen apartment buildings go up on Colonel Nace. Well, where a 24-unit apartment building goes up, that's 24 connections. And that's 24 times $390, and that on a small budget that this operates on, that really makes a difference to the bottom line. So hopefully we see lots more connections. There are some risk factors with the operation of the utility that we're monitoring. There's a curtain replacement project that will be undertaken this year. The reserves are fragile, and as we develop the 2027 budget, we'll be bringing forward some recommendations to Council to help address that.
Any questions or comments? There being none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? None, motion is carried, thank you. And the next two, 11K and L, are both respect to For winter season. So first one, 11K, is snow and ice control plan revisions for the 2026-2027 winter season. I guess I'll read the motion first before asking for some detail. Motions that the Council of the Town of Grand Bay-Westfield approve the revised 2026-2027 snow and ice control.
Thank you. So since the town has taken snow control in-house, actually probably long before then, they do an annual review of the snow and ice control plan. And we'll let the public works director highlight what they're recommending for changes to this issue.
Thank you, your worship and council. So as Acting CEO mentioned, we perform an annual review of our snow and ice plan yearly, and that comes before council. This is a snow plan that was developed while the contractor was performing snow and ice control. So it's slowly developed to this point. A lot of the adjustments made within this submission cleans up a lot of the appendixes and some of the levels of service that were defined through the contractor. So some of the appendixes that have been changed, we incorporated the hard copy of the bylaw, the snow and ice bylaw. One that I'd like to highlight, this is one I believe council would be interested in. We did have a Hamilton Road extension private referenced as a list for our local streets. We were looking to remove that from our list. It was referenced as a private road, however, or extension, however, the area being asked to service is completely on private property. The extension to Hamilton that goes up to Apple Hill is completely beside that, or in a different direction. So we're looking to remove that street as we can't perform work on private property. Service routes were removed. This is something that was incorporated through the contractor. That's operational. We change that from time to time depending on staffing levels and the storm. Calibration section, this is something, it went into great detail on how to calibrate equipment. We have various types of equipment we calibrate. It's still listed in the snow plan that is performed. However, the step-by-step guide was removed. Governance, it lists which staff members is their roles and responsibilities in a cleaner manner. Policy, when it was defining the 3 priorities, it listed examples of streets within that priority. We had an appendix that already lists those streets, so it was removed. One of the procedure changes, it listed priority 3 streets as using solid sand mix. We don't use mix on these roads, we strictly use sand. Sidewalks and municipal facilities were all incorporated into one portion of the document. This was separated just to add clarity. I had a definition on school days and non-school days, just for clarity, and then also define those routes in an appendix. Another item that was just carried over from the contractor was our after storm snow removal procedures. It listed specific streets, depending on whether there were drainage issues there, snow accumulation. Just after reviewing it through the season, this is something we do as a normal level of service. However, I have identified in the plan how we prioritize snow removal procedures. For instance, drainage and snow storage can be interchangeable depending on the forecast. If it's not going to rain, storage becomes more of a priority than drainage. Those are the big changes. So we're looking to move forward with this plan and implement those changes in next season.
Thank you. Any questions or comments?
Good question, on the Hampton Road extension, how many houses on that? How long, how many houses on that street? 50 piles between
There's two homes accessing that through that one property. In those two homes, the owner of the property at which we service, they're not the same. So the resident requesting the service doesn't own the property that is being serviced.
Through campaigning, it was mentioned numerous times that it was noticed a very efficient plan. It was a very consistent snow removal this year and salt and sand, and most people were very, very pleased with what's been happening. Maybe not even knowing that there was such a change, but just a notable shift in that the roads were cleared very quickly and consistently. There was a little bit of concern that they may be out there so much that it could be to the detriment of roads, because greater campaigning, potholes, and every other word conversation. So just a comment to the program.
Thank you. I'll make sure to address that.
Any other comments or? Thank you. And my only comment would be that this snow and ice control plan, it governs the level of service, the questions that everybody gets and comments and people wondering, when's my street going, why do we do this, it's all in here. So this is a really good document for everybody to familiarize themselves with, because it really does answer a lot of questions and it's really comprehensive, so thank you. So I believe I read the motion on this one, had the mover and seconded, so all in favor? Any opposed? All right, motion is carried, thank you. Keep you on the for snow, because the next one, 11L, is a tandem tender award. And the motion here is that the council of the town of Bay-Westfield award the contract for one tandem plow truck to fill La Rochelle Equipment Inc. for $418,383.95 plus HST. So I have a mover, Councilor Lawrence, second, Councilor Raymond, and I'll ask CAO to give us some detail on this one.
Thank you. We'll let Chris go.
Thank you, Your Worship and Council. As part of our fleet replacement program, we've identified our 2017 Cannon plow truck to be replaced in 2027. Throughout the winter, this is one of our pieces of equipment that it's really, if you could put the definition of workhorse on one of our vehicles or equipment, this is the one. Other than doing the main road, it performs the hills in Westfield, and then also covers for when other trucks are behind. We have been having mechanical issues, as you would expect in a 10-year-old vehicle. We went out for tender to receive some pricing. The reason why we went out this time was due to manufacturing lead times. So if the town was to want to receive the vehicle or the equipment early 27, they would have to go out for tender now and then be awarded. So that process, we went through that process. We were fortunate to receive 4 submissions. All four were qualified bidders. So as part of the RFP process, we have a scoring system, a scoring matrix. So each supplier was evaluated equally, and the result is that we're seeking approval to provide or to purchase a 2027 Freightliner with La Rochelle equipment through Phil La Rochelle.
Any questions or comments?
Do we put that or try for tender after that to give recruits money in the spring of 2027? Or we don't put up tender through like the old truck?
Yes, once we receive receipt of the new piece of equipment, the 2017 will go to go to auction.
That was sort of in line with my question. My question was, so we just bought it from ABL in 2023, so 3 years ago. My question was, are we still paying for it? And if so, we're going to recoup any costs.
Yeah, so it is paid for, and the plan is to send it to auction. It's a favorable time to send it to auction. Also with the cloud.
Googling the 2027 Freightliner with the Roche equivalent, it looks like the tandem carries 915 tons, which would exceed the benchmark for the snow and ice plan at just 2 tons. Can administration confirm the ready capacity to comply with the snow and ice plan?
Sorry, I missed that.
Does this workhorse suit our 2-ton capacity for spreader?
Oh, this is a 12-ton spreader.
Okay.
The 2-ton would be our pickup size.
Okay.
Any other questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion is carried, thank you. I think you're still on the hook. That's it.
Yeah.
So the next one is 11M, which is the PMHP change. That the council of the town of Bay-Westfield, the motion is 1, approve the revision to the 2026 Provincial Municipal Highway Partnership Program project limits on Route 177 by shifting the asphalt resurfacing approximately 200 meters north. And 2, approve the allocation of $100,000 in municipal operational funding to extend the asphalt resurfacing limits. Councilor Herpich, seconded, Councilor Travis, and we do need some explanation on this.
So yes, I'll let the Works Commissioner, the Public Works Director, fill in the finer details, but essentially this is just a really good example of new technology and evaluating specific situations and being able to pivot to sort of the best interests of the municipality.
Thank you, Your Worship, Council. I do feel like I'm on the hot seat right now. So in 2025, Council approved this year's PMHP project, so that the project's scope was defined as Miles Terrace to Inglewood Drive asphalt resurfacing. However, over the winter, due to many factors, the section between Inglewood Drive and Mullen Lane deteriorated much quicker than projected. As you can see in the report, the 2025 score for that section was 62%, and it was reduced to 47. That's significant. I received approval through DTI to shift the PMHP scope to move the project area that way, north, given the prices we received through our capital project at Valley View. It was determined that we wouldn't be able to make it to Mullen Lane, and that is why I'm recommending adding an additional $100,000 our municipal operations budget to push that project further to encompass that 47% and 57% section of Route 177 or Mariners Road.
Any questions or comments?
Just from a budgeting perspective, so council clear, this money is allocated. We have $100,000 allocated for asphalting in an undefined location, and then traditionally we've determined, given the year and the conditions and the pricing, where to use that money. So this is just allocating that particular money to this location. It's not unbudgeted money, it's in the budget.
I'll just comment that this is gonna make a lot of people very happy.
Yeah, it will. Another comment to add to that, this is an example of us subsidizing a provincial road, because it reminded everybody that this is a provincial road, that we have lots of problems with it. We have to advocate for the province. We got funding for part of it, it doesn't go far enough. So we are subsidizing that road, but yeah, right, it's needed and it's gonna make people happy.
So with that subsidization, we're helping advance provincial corridor. Is there an opportunity for negotiating any kind of return on that?
Ideally, yeah.
I would say the short answer would be no.
Yeah, but we can try.
Yeah, we can certainly try, but the short answer would definitely be no. Part of the reason for this is kind of twofold in the sense of this actually benefits, it's one of those areas where it kind of benefits us in the sense of it also, as the Works Director also mentioned, that level of damage to the road also increases damage to the plows during the winter months. So by not making this small investment, we may be making an even bigger investment down the road. And then second to that is the, to try and use that $100,000 somewhere else. When you're already doing a section of paving, to add a little bit more, the 100,000 goes a lot further. Whereas if you were to try and do that separate, you're gonna get a lot less number of meters of pavement for the same dollar value. So this is, understandably, it's not ideal to subsidize in this form, but in this case, it is a recommended action.
I'm sure we can use it in free somewhere.
Yes.
Yes. Any other questions?
Oh, we'll let them, yes, we'll let them know.
Any other questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? No, thank you all for the motions carried. This is actually really good, a good news one. It's a great example of great planning, so thank you. All right, so we have a few items that were added in on the agenda amendment under section 11. So we're going to bring out of the consent agenda item 13F, which is letter of formal recognition from St. John Fire Department, Roddy Shen. So I guess we would put a motion here that it would be to receive and file, but move with Councilor Lennon in second. Councilor McFarland, so we'll discuss.
Yeah, so this was a letter that was received from St. John Fire Department regarding the actions of one of our firefighters. This was, the same letter was brought to call to the firefighters that were also on the same call. The slight difference with senior firefighter Shannon is he was off duty at the time, so this incident actually occurred at his place of employment. So he didn't directly respond. He was there during his off hours. It's recognizing the actions that we as a department took, and specifically Mr. Shannon being directly involved in the rescue efforts in a workplace incident where a patient was trapped. And St. John Fire Department recognizing those efforts. It was a very unique incident that absolutely does not happen very often. It was incredibly complex. It was a large piece of machinery that the patient was entrapped in. There was 2 apparatus from the city of St. John, along with a crew from our rescue unit assisting. I think, if I remember correctly, we were there probably half an hour to 40 minutes to get the patient extricated. It was certainly a great job by Ms. Shannon.
The letter was amazing.
Yes.
So very proud of your fire department.
Absolutely.
Mr. Chair. Any other questions or comments? This is a great one. Thank you for pulling it out to highlight. So all in favor? Any opposed? Great, so motion is carried. And another one from the consent agenda we just wanted to highlight was item 13M, which is Route 177 plan closure. And I guess that motion on this one again would be a motion to receive and file. So that will move on. Councilor Burton, Secretary Councilor McFarland, so we can just get some info on this one as well.
Sure. So this is a letter from DTI just advising of some road work that they're going to be doing, basically on the section between the town boundary and the Crane Mountain area. So that section of 177. That's going to result in a full closure of that, which will then result in a detour that will involve Colonel's Boulevard. As far as communications to the public, they do have a comp plan that they're developing that will be out there. The only other item of interest is that will increase the traffic at that intersection. So the intent is that they will be supplying temporary traffic lights for that intersection during the closure. And it is expected to take a month.
That's interesting. There's a quick question. So the communication is going to come from the province?
It will come from the province. It's 100% their project.
Okay.
And it's not even within our community.
Right,
It's just
but
that the detour will
it
affect our
impacts.
community, yes.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Maybe inconvenience for us though, people could come around from St. John around, use that boulevard, so be like traffic tie-ups, delays.
It'll definitely change traffic patterns at that intersection. And certainly, yes, going up Current Lakes and going on the highway.
Ideally, you can highlight the development. People driving down, yeah. Any other questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thanks, motion is carried, so thank you for those ones. So back to item 12, bills for payment. The motion here is that the council of the town of Grand Bay-Westfield authorize the April 27th, 2026 bills for payment. Is that the correct date? April 27th, so just makes.
Is that the correct date for the bill for payment? No. June
June 22nd, sorry. The June 22nd, 2026 bills for payment as presented in the amount of, this is that, $1,049,246.69. I read that for you, but that's the amount, so any questions or I guess I'll ask for a move. Councilor Murphy, seconder, Councilor Billings. And any questions or comments on this lovely bill for payment?
I just have one question. The annual subscription for Central Story Technologies.
I can let our CFO that in relation to some software.
There's some licensing costs for a new citizen portal that we're going to be rolling out later this year, early in 2027, so that when users receive their sewer utility bill, they can elect to do so electronically, and then they can log into a portal and they can see their bill, they can make a payment, they can see their payment history. We believe it's going to add a lot of visibility to residents. So there's some licensing costs involved and some implementation costs.
So this is an annual cost?
It's about $8,000 annually, and then there was $2,000 of charges related to the consultant.
Any other comments or questions? Being none, all in favor? Any opposed? This motion is carried. So back to the consent agenda. So the motion is that the council of the town of Grand Bay-Westfield receive and file the consent agenda items for June 22nd, 2026. And I'll read them all. 13A, Planning Advisory Committee Memo to Council, 6-year report variance. 13B, Planning Advisory Memo to Council, or Committee Memo to Council, amendment to Rules of Procedures. 13C, Fire Rescue Department Monthly Report, April 2026. 13D, Animal Control Report, April 2026. 13E, Animal Control Monthly Report, May 2026. 13G, Funding North Fishermen's Association request for sponsorship. 13H, New Brunswick Police Association request for support. 13I, Fundy Regional Service Commission Crane Mountain Economic Development Fund report. 13J, New Brunswick Got Talent sponsorship request. 13K, Team NB sponsorship inquiry. And 13L, police personnel and expenditures. So, do I have a mover? Councilor Griffey, seconded. Councilor questions? Any comments or questions?
I should have pulled this earlier, but 13K. This is the Team New Brunswick sponsorship inquiry. And something that I heard while I was campaigning that Grand Bay-Westfield will be supporting the summer games, but there aren't any known athletes in our area that are going to be participating. And then I saw this, and I thought that this was something that could be discussed a little bit further. They support, and I think that's going to be going a little bit further for a team.
We can close out, we can discuss it the next meeting. Yep. So, any other questions or comments? So, all in favor? Any opposed? Motion's carried. All right, so the next one.
Just to clarify that one, so your request is to bring
We'll
that.
pull that out.
Take that back to the next council meeting.
We'll take it out of the consent.
A better understanding of what Team New Brunswick and summer games, what the connection might be there.
And then we get kind of a view on. Thank you. All right, so item 14 is council reports, and just a reminder for this one. This was something on our agenda where councils are able to have an opportunity to discuss what they do around town and what we're up to. In this case, the new council was just sworn in June 10th, I believe. So might be shorter ones here, but I just wanted to go through. So I guess I'll do what Mayor usually does, and go around in a circle, so I'll start with second.
So we're just going from June 10th.
But, and then anything else you'd like to highlight?
Wow. We want to go back to April. We had volunteer appreciation. First year we've done it at Cousin Kettle. So that was a great change up. I think everyone really enjoyed it. And then May 8th, we toured the new Works Garage, the copy of the Works Garage. That was exciting. May 12th, went through the community grants, the applications for the community grants, and we allotted $6,000 to community groups. And then June 10th was starting, and June 12th to 14th, we were all involved in a council orientation, a full weekend of it.
Mine's pretty short. Got sworn in on the 10th. And then last weekend I attended the counselor workshop orientation.
We went to bike rodeo.
Bike rodeo.
On Saturday? Yeah, Saturday. So it was again at a new location, British Bowl, but it worked great. The kids had a great time going on the paved part, the downboard. But we went in, the RCP was there, did a little presentation, gave some bikes away. Great.
Free bike weekends too.
Yeah.
That's it.
I was swearing in on June 10th, that was a great event. And I had 2 days of orientation in St. John, that was a long 2 days. Yeah, I also went to a play at the Port Valley School, my granddaughter was in it, and other grandkids in here, or kids. It was a great job, and I went to a dance show at Harborview. My two grandkids were also, another two grandkids, so great show. Thank you.
Thank you.
So I'm just gonna start in June. The June 10th, as everyone else, the swearing in ceremony, which was so official, lovely details. Thank you, Nicole and Brock, for all your effort on that. June 12th and 13th, council orientation. We had great speakers, a lot of good information. It's also good review for returning councilors to kind of get an overview of everything and how it all happens. June 17th, last Wednesday night, I announced the first summer stage music night. It was really well attended and had great weather. June 18th, I stopped at the Brundage Point Market. That's pretty packed place on Thursday, so just a reminder to check that out. June 19th, on Friday night, with Westfield District Rec Association, I attended the Last Class Bash at Four Corners, and they recently added a bubble machine, which was a huge big hit. We have hot dogs and marshmallows, and kids did actually burn their notebooks. So also just want to quickly announce that this weekend the Raise the Roof at Four Corners has been postponed by 1 day. So the day is Sunday, June 28th, because the crane is only available on that day to lift up the roof rafters. So if anybody is watching, we could use some volunteers with some tools and some lessons. That's it for me.
Did we find out who was gonna be the operator, or not the operator, but who was gonna, what the ownership of the crane?
Yeah. Who was that?
Martin Springs.
Martin Springs.
Martin,
They built one of those? I hope they have 2 framers there, because creating is money, so you need 2 framers.
Yeah.
You know how to put the rough rafters up.
There was 3 there last night when I saw
That's
it.
good, 100 framers.
I think hopefully we're good.
But
Swearing in ceremony, thank you very much. It's more formal than my wedding, which was lovely. 2 days of council training. I also was on CBC radio, did an interview. C105 Francophone did another radio interview there. Was the judge at New Brunswick's Got Talent, which I would recommend. It's going on right now. They should be judging the final in about half an hour. Also attended the bike rodeo and seeing those little kids pedal so fast for the radar one was engineering. I am on the Port of St. John Community Liaison Committee, and we did a strategic plan meeting. This Wednesday, you may see that I've been appointed on the Heritage St. John Board. I've also been nominated for the YSJ Board for the airport. And I've registered for a few upcoming events, the UNB event, implement and integrate your climate adaptation plan through FCM, and the St. John Jewish Museum 40th anniversary. These events will be happening over the next few weeks. Thank you.
So I won't repeat all the things, but I just wanted to highlight a couple of things in town and just remind residents, anybody who's watching, some things that were mentioned, the markets going on and the summer stage events every Wednesday night at Unity Park are going on. And also we have some great summer events. I know people have asked about it for years and they're finally back, which is tennis lessons. So to get an idea, that's been posted, and I believe everything is on our calendar on the website of those community events. So just let people know what's there, because there's lots of stuff going on. So after council reports, I guess the next is business arising from committee of the whole, and there being none, the final motion is adjournment. And the motion is that the council of the town of Bay-Westfield adjourn the meeting at 9:05 p.m. Councilor Murphy, and all in favor? Aye. Great, motion is carried. Thank you very much, everyone.